G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, in this video, we're back with another sort of history related video in which we go over the top 20 longest unique winning streaks at each AFL stadium by a single team. Now this is going to be similar to a video I went over a couple of weeks ago where I went over every stadium's highest capacity they've ever recorded. And I've done a few other similar videos like this before in the past. To start off the list at 20 spot with 11 wins consecutively, we've got Port Adelaide at Football Park. They've actually achieved this feat twice in their history, both in 2002 and 2003, with the first time the one I'm going to be covering between round 4 2002 to round 22 2002. This was obviously achieved during a period where the Power were quite successful, as of course in 2004 the Power did win their only AFL flag, and their average winning margin during this period was 35 points. Now at 18 spot, or equal 18 spot I should say, with a total of 12 wins in a row at Waverley Park, we've got the Essendon Bombers. Now Essendon was never a team who actually played their home games at Waverley Park, which makes this statistic, you know, a little bit surprising because only the Hawks and the Saints ever played their home games at Waverley. So, you know, it makes this feat much more impressive that the Bombers during this period, which was from round 5 1983 to round 3 of 1985, were actually able to win 12 wins in a row at a stadium that was never even their home ground. This was again during a period where they were quite successful. I'm pretty sure they did win the flag in 1984, and they probably, were up there in 1983 and 1985. And during this period as well, they had an average winning margin of 46.4 points at Waverley. Also, with 12 wins coming in at equal 18th, we've got the Western Bulldogs at the Junction Oval, and this was again a stadium that, you know, the Dogs weren't able to claim theirs, that it wasn't their home ground. It was actually the Saints' former home ground before they moved to Moorabbin in 1965. Now this record, you know, spanned a total of 11 years, which has got to be the longest of any record in this list. It spanned from round 2 of 1946 to round 2 of 1956, so 11 consecutive seasons, and the Dogs saw an average winning margin of 29.6. Now we move on to equal 16th spot on the list with 14 wins apiece, and we start off with West Coast, in which they recorded 14 wins in a row at the WACA, which was their secondary home ground at the time, obviously playing majority of their home games at Subiaco. This streak lasted from round 12 of 1989 to round 20 of 1992. So it sort of makes sense again why this spanned across 4 consecutive seasons. Now the Eagles actually recorded quite a healthy average winning margin during this period alone. They had an average winning margin of 50.7 points during this time, which was, the most so far of any team in this list. And now again, also at 16th spot on the list, we have Fitzroy, who recorded 14 wins in a row at Brusnwick St, which of course back at the time was their former home ground. Now they achieved this from round 15 in 1957 to round 3 1959. They had the lowest average winning margin of any side in this list, with just 24.8 points. Now next up, we've got 15th spot with, funnily enough, 15 wins. The Geelong Cats recorded 15 wins in a row at Corio Oval during round 9 of 1936 to round 17 of 1939. Now similar to West Coast with the WACA, this was Geelong's secondary home game. You know, back in the day, they would play a handful of home games there a season, where obviously primarily they'd be playing their, you know, majority of their home games at Gabba Park. Now during this period, the Cats recorded an average winning margin of 46.1 points. Now 14th on the list with 16 wins, so, you know, taking up a little bit, we've got the Saints at Moorabbin Oval. Now this feat was achieved between round 7 1965 to round 18 of 1966, so this was just as the Saints made their move from the Junction Oval to Moorabbin, and this was actually done in 1965. And this is arguably St Kilda's most successful period in history. I mean, it was the time, really, the year where they won their only flag in 1966, only making the grand final once after that until 1992 or 1993 when they moved out. And the Saints during this time had an average winning margin of 44.5 points. Now at equal 12th, we'll start off with the Sydney Swans, in which they recorded 17 wins at the SCG, and this was achieved throughout the times of 1996 to 1997. They actually made the grand final in 1996, so, you know, it makes sense into why they did achieve this record during a period in which they, you know, enjoyed a little bit of success. And they had an average winning margin during this time of 33.8 points. Also tying 12th spot with the 17 wins, we've got North Melbourne at their former home ground in Arden St. And this was recorded a fair while ago between round 3, 1949 to round 15, 1950, with I think the second or the third lowest average winning margin on this list of just 27.7 points. We didn't take it up a notch with 3 sides placing in 9th position with 18 wins apiece. First up, we got the Saints, who recorded this feat at Marvel Stadium between round 13, 2008 and round 17, 2009. This is a period in which the Saints were arguably a powerhouse. They were unstoppable. They won their first 19 games of the season in 2009 before getting stopped by the Bombers in round 20. Their average winning margin during this time was 42.6 points. Another team that also recorded 18 wins in a row at a particular stadium was the Bombers, in which they did this at Windy Hill, their former home ground. But they achieved this record between round 9 of 1984 and round 8 of 1986. Now, the Bombers got 12 wins in a row from 1983 to 1985 at Waverley. Yet, from 1984 to 1986, they recorded 18 wins in a row at Windy Hill. So, they must have been really bloody good during this time if they were to be achieving records left, right and center. And their average winning margin over this period of the 18 games was at 55.4 points. And again, another stadium also recording 18 wins in a row. And this is recorded by the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba. And this started in round 8, 2001 and ended in round 13, 2002. Obviously, the Lions were one of the great teams back in the day. They won 3 flags in a row from 2001 to 2003 over this time. And the Lions recorded an average winning margin of 46.5 points. Now, 8th spot on the list with 19 wins in a row. We've got a bit of a more recent one recorded by Hawthorn. And this was done at York Park or Utah Stadium, the Hawks home away from home. They just were a team that just wouldn't lose there. You would almost pencil in a win. They had an average winning margin of 53.1 points as well. Next up, with 20 wins in a row, we've got 2 stadiums coming in at Eagles' 6th spot. The first one being the Eagles, in which they feature on this list at second time. And this was done at Subiaco Oval, in which they recorded 20 wins from round 8, 2004 to round 20, 2005, with an average winning margin of 41.1 points. And again, also with 20 wins, Collingwood achieved this feat at Victoria Park from round 16, 1969 to round 7, 1971. This was spanning 3 consecutive seasons. Obviously, the Pies would play all their home games at Victoria Park back in the day until they moved to the MCG in the year of 2000. And over this time, the Pies record an average winning margin of 46 points. Now, before we do get into the top 5, I'd like you guys watching this video at home to comment down below what stadium you reckon will round out on the top of this list and feature number 1 spot. So comment down below what you reckon will come at number 1 spot. And I guess when I cover it, we'll see if you guys are correct or not. So to start off for the top 5, we've got the Blues, in which they achieved a feat of 21 wins in a row at their former home ground at Princess Park between round 22, 1993 and round 7, 1996. This is spanning over a period of 4 consecutive seasons, and they did win the flag in 1995 as well. And they had an average winning margin of 45.1 points. And next up at 4th on the list, we've got the most recent of all records achieved, and this is done by the Tigers at the MCG. They recorded 22 wins in a row, starting from round 14 of 2017 to the infamous preliminary final of 2018, in which Mason Cox and the Pies, taught the Tigers a lesson. But honestly, they were, again, just like all the other teams in this list, an unstoppable force. It was just a crazy record to be achieving at the MCG. Now, the average winning margin over the time was a little bit lower than a lot of the others covered in this list of just 35.7 points. Now, we move into the top 3, and the next 2 we're going to be covering are finishing equal second with 24 wins apiece. And Richmond featured twice in a row. They make another top 4 appearance, and this time it was achieved at Punt Rd Oval, the Tigers. They recorded 24 wins in a row from round 11, 1932 to round 4, 1935. I'm pretty sure this is the earliest record that I've covered on this list, and they recorded an average winning margin of 30.6 points. Now again, with 24 wins in a row, we've got the Swans, and this was done at Lake Oval from round 8, 1934 to round 17, 1936. Now obviously, during this time, Sydney were known as the South Melbourne Swans, so they would be playing their home games in Melbourne, which was at Lake Oval at the time. And again, a bit of a low average winning margin over the period, but this is way back, in 1934, and they had an average winning margin of 33.1 points. So we come down to number 1 spot. This is, what we've all been waiting for. And if you guys did leave a comment down below, we'll see if you guys are correct. And if you guys did, comment down below GMHBA Stadium. You guys are in fact correct, because that was the longest winning streak of any venue in VFL AFL history with 29 wins. And obviously it was recorded by the Geelong Cats from round 3 2008 to round 20 2011, spanning over a course of 4 full seasons. I mean, that is an amazing feat. The Cats were an ominous threat and a scary force to play against over this period, and you could argue the same still now. I mean, you just don't want to be playing the Cats at Kardinia Park, but particularly not during this time period. I mean, they average a 63.5 point win over the course of the 29 games alone, which is just even more remarkable. So over these 29 games in a row, the Cats would be winning by an average of over 10 goals at GMHBA every week. Anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more footy videos like this, of course. Now, the off season isn't too far away from ending, with the footy season starting in just over a month. But yeah, I'll make it, you know, a couple more of these videos until then, because they're quite interesting, easy to make, and for the most part perform quite well. If you've got any video ideas as well, you know, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and I'll for sure consider turning it into a video of some sort. But until then, hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, as I said before, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Cheers.